go. So I would like to turn to our presenters to introduce themselves, and then we can get started.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having us this morning. Thanks for everyone joining to learn a little bit more about what we're doing at SpacesShared and specifically our partnership with Georgian. My name is Rylan Kinnon. I'm the co-founder and CEO of SpacesShared. And this is one of those full circle moments for me in my career. I worked at the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance and was part of the committee that actually put the proposal in for the Center for Innovation in Campus Mental Health, I guess about a decade or over a decade ago. It's really exciting to see the center continuing to drive change, share best practices, and bring folks together in a way like this. I'll introduce myself a little bit more when we get in and give a little bit more of my background. But again, thanks for joining us this morning. Really excited that you're here to learn about innovative approaches to supporting students and building community. I'll pass it over to Sarah.
Good morning, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sarah Stackhouse. I am the Housing and Outreach Coordinator at Georgian College. We're very excited to be part of this webinar and to talk about our partnership, which is SpacesShared. SpacesShared is one of our innovative approaches to helping students find safe and affordable housing in our Georgian communities. We will talk a little bit more about why we decided to move forward with our SpacesShared initiative and why looking at different and innovative approaches to housing was so important to us and our students. We're very excited about this initiative and excited to share about our experiences and where we hope their future will go. Thank you so much, everyone. We hope that this is exciting as it is for us.
Fantastic. So we'll jump right in. This presentation is called Connection and Community with SpacesShared. So what is SpacesShared as a starting point? It's both a technology platform and it's a team. We provide a way for folks interested in home sharing to find suitable matches based on preferences, location, and personality, while prioritizing safety and providing support along the way. That's the really key thing to drive forward. While we have a matching platform that matches and supports students and older adults who want to live together, we stay involved. Each month we check in and make sure that the match is going well. I'll talk about that in more detail later. So we've got a great core executive team. Obviously, my career has predominantly been in the post-secondary space. I worked for the Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities for 5 years, as Executive Director of the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance for 2 years, as Chief Operating Officer at Magnet at TMU for 2 years. And then I've done consulting in the post-secondary space on strategy, policy, business development, all of that type of stuff. Jackie Tanner is my co-founder and our Chief Experience Officer. She's a gerontological social worker who specializes in innovative approaches to aging in place, innovative housing solutions. And she actually was the national manager of the Canada Home Share program for about 3 years before their funding ran out, and she joined SpacesShared. Sudeep has over 20 years of experience developing enterprise-level software solutions for clients in the private and in the public sector. So we're a mission-driven organization, and our mission, somewhat bold, is to change the way the world lives together by turning shared spaces into homes and spare bedrooms into opportunities. We started SpacesShared actually after a consultation I did for Colleges Ontario on student mental health. I had the opportunity to speak with student leaders and administrators from across Ontario. And what I heard from student leaders consistently was housing affordability being a top priority. Didn't matter if they were in a rural community in Northern Ontario or in a large urban community in Southern Ontario. Every single student association had housing as a top priority. And I think we know, anyone reading the news knows that housing affordability is a nationwide challenge, and not just for students, for everyone. One of the things that's particularly relevant from that consultation on student mental health is a student leader said very eloquently to me, you know, when we talk about mental health, we so often talk about therapeutic interventions. But the reality is you can't counsel me out of food insecurity, economic insecurity, or housing insecurity. So that's where I got the idea to start thinking about how can we make housing affordable and safe, and how can we address other challenges. 90% of older adults want to age in place. So as we like to say, we have two populations that have so much to offer each other. So we have a distinct value proposition for older adults, students, and post-secondary institutions. For older adults, they can put their spare rooms to work, getting companionship, financial, and other support. Students can find compatible older adults to live with and lower their housing costs. And for post-secondary institutions, you can help your students find high-quality housing and build deep roots in their community. And what I always say to a post-secondary audience is one of the things that disappoints me most is the public narrative, particularly around international students, that's often focused from a deficit lens. What we are excited about is the potential being able to say to your communities, we're bringing students in and we're addressing a need. We're addressing a need for companionship. We're addressing a need for support around the home. And students are becoming part of the solution to the challenge we have with an aging population. We always say home sharing is not new. Home sharing has been around forever. And maybe, I don't know if folks can actually put their hands up, but how many folks have informally or formally had a family friend, a niece, or a nephew live with them during school or with in any other kind of context? Yeah, so at least 3 folks. That's fantastic. What we've done is we've tried to build a platform that allows you to scale and sustain home sharing. So it's important to know that it's not for everyone. So the ingredients of a good match of folks that'll actually get along well is compatibility. And I'll show you how we match for compatibility. Clear communication, respect and consideration, flexibility, openness to new experiences, feelings of safety, and clear expectations. To be a successful host in this program, you have a spare bedroom with a door. That is an absolute minimum requirement. Only hosts that live in the home that they want to share can participate in SpacesShared. The bedroom cannot be shared with another individual. A host needs to feel positive about participating in a home share arrangement. This is not something that we like to force folks into if they're not excited about it. They feel positively about having new experiences. Again, they communicate their expectations and they have empathy. Just to dive into the host benefits further, what we allow is we allow hosts to ask for assistance with snow shoveling, yard maintenance, light household maintenance, meal prep, picking up groceries and other things, light household cleaning, tech support, as you can see from the image here. There's the benefit of unplanned interactions, just the ability to have someone else in the home and have that social interaction without having to actually schedule it. Companionship, extra income, and giving back to the community. And what's really exciting is when we look at the reasons for why hosts sign up for SpacesShared, almost all of them mention giving back as one key element of their participation. They understand that housing is really expensive for students and they want to be part of the solution. For students or guests, the benefits are obviously being able to rent an affordable room that feels like home, help acclimating to the neighborhood and the community. And you'll hear from one of our matches a little bit later about what that looks like. Networking, community relationship building. One of the things that we match on is field of study and a career of the host. So we can match a nursing student with an active or retired nurse. We can match an engineering student with an active or retired engineer. We can match a carpentry apprentice with an active or retired carpenter. And this obviously gives the student another node in their network and another ability to understand the context, not just of the community that they live in, but also the field that they're looking to work in. And that's also where there's the potential for mentorship. So the process at a high level, you sign up, you tell us about yourself, your hobbies, your interests, your field of study, where you've studied if you're a host, and what field you've worked in. Then you tell us about your ideal housemate. After you verify your ID and your address if you're a host, you set your housemate preferences, your expectations around cleanliness, foods prepared in the home, guests, substance consumption, all of those things. You match with a housemate. You have a video chat built into the platform where you can say whether you want to get to know someone. If you do, you enter into a video chat. And we provide a discussion guide to make sure that first conversation is really effective and you ask the right questions. If you decide to proceed with the home share arrangement, we have a home share agreement that is built into the platform that is templated, auto-populated. You can edit it. You can both sign off and then download a PDF of it. Payments are made through the platform and they are automated. And once the host has had the guest move in, we check in the day the student moves in, a week thereafter, and every month to ask, how's it going? If that check-in identifies that there's an issue, it's an email check-in, we follow up with a phone call. Safety, security, and privacy are obviously top of mind to us. As I always say, trust and safety are essentially our two #1 brand priorities. So first of all, student profiles are not visible. The only time a student's profile is visible is if they choose to engage with a host. And even then, it's just their first name that shows up. Host's address and last name are hidden in the browse room section. We show a 1/4-mile radius around the home. Data is stored in Canada, and obviously we comply with federal and provincial privacy regulations. Our users are all verified. So all users must verify their identity, email address, and phone number. And when they verify their identity, they actually have to provide a piece of government issued ID, which means that if you signed up for SpacesShared and if you fail to abide by our terms and conditions and you're removed from the platform, you cannot sign back up. This is not Facebook or Kijiji where you're just another email address away from creating another account. Hosts have to verify their address, either using a driver's license or a bill, and guests have to verify that they are in fact signed up as a student. So we require them to upload proof of acceptance and proof of enrollment. Before the host and guest can enter into a home share agreement, they have to complete an enhanced criminal background check, which is done automatically through the platform. We can get the result of that as quickly as 15 minutes, but definitely within 24 hours.
When it comes to
So I'll just quickly play this short, poorly edited interview of Rosemary Barton of one of our matches in Barrie.
finding affordable housing in Canada, there are lots of programs that are trying to help. This is one of them. SpacesShared is an online home share platform, and it pairs students looking for a place to live with seniors who have some extra space. I spoke with an international student and his host who are part of that program.
Actually, my primary target was to look at Facebook marketplaces, and I just looked around on Google, whichever site I can find to find some space. Usually those spaces were charging a high price, and it was a shared room basically, like 2 guys or 3 guys, something like that. Also, they will ask you to pay in advance, but you have no idea how, like, you have no idea who it is. So I think it was more of a scam, I'll say.
The Shared Spaces program really lowered all of my concerns. What I really liked about it was that there's a third party involved in me renting out my space, and they made me very aware of the fact that if there was an issue, if there were problems, once I had chosen someone to rent, if there was a problem, that they were there as a third party to help solve the problem between us.
And Sahil, did you have any concerns about moving in with a stranger?
To be honest, no, actually. I wanted to live with somebody who can be understanding, who will teach me that how I can start my life here. So I think I was very much happy to live with somebody who knows. And she's my eldest, so she's like a mentor, you can say, and a friend as well.
Well,
so
that's nice.
Oh, I definitely think we need to come up with more ideas outside of the box, similar to this. It would just, the more options we have, the more people we can serve.
So I think what really excites me about that interview, which, by the way, if you're wondering, it was not scripted, is exactly that last point that Sue makes. It's that recognition that we need to do better as a society in supporting each other in creating housing options. And you heard from Sahil, obviously, the concerns about the ways students can be taken advantage of, especially if they're international students, if they're leveraging traditional ways of finding housing. Just wanted to show 2 of our other matches. On the left, we have Lillian, an international student from Ghana. and Darla, Barry host. Lillian was the first guest to move in, and it was a very special moment. My co-founder Jackie and I actually went and picked up Lillian from the airport, drove her to the home. And when Darla opened the door, she says with a big smile and a warm voice, "Welcome home, Lillian." And that was just really special. Imagine you're an international student who's perhaps leaving your home country for the first time. Having that kind of welcome is really, really powerful. And as we like to say, we hope to create thousands and tens of thousands more moments just like that. On the right side, you have Parth and Karen. Parth's a second-year international student, and Karen is a host in Barrie. And what's really amazing is as Parth got to know Karen, Karen also got to know Parth's parents. And Parth's parents actually sent Karen a sari to say thank you for hosting him. And you can see that Karen's wearing that sari in this. Parth and Karen were featured in a Maclean's article. If you want to learn more about their relationship, it may still be up on the home page, but I can also share a link to that in the chat. So I want to quickly show you what it looks like to sign up. So when you first sign up, you say whether you're a host or a guest. We collect really basic information, and then you get to move into the platform. As you can see, we've designed this in such a way that it is as easy to use as possible. We always say to folks that if you can use Facebook, you can use SpacesShared. 75% of adults or older adults in North America have a Facebook account, which was a piece of information really critical to us as we decided whether you could apply a technology solution to this. This is obviously the section where we collect your profile photo, basic information about yourself, your career, etc. Then we ask you about your housemate preferences. So the questions that we ask are daytime and evening guests. What do you do? What do you expect your guests to do? Cooking and eating. Are there foods you don't want cooked in the home? Are there foods that you regularly cook in the home so that you can be aware of each other's dietary, cultural, or faith-based dietary restrictions? We ask about substance consumption, alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis. We ask about cleanliness, how often you expect your guests to clean up the kitchen, shared spaces, and the bathroom. And then we ask other questions about your interest in home sharing. For hosts, they have to complete a listing. We ask them to obviously acknowledge the home is safe, has all the requirements of a legal room. We ask about the bedroom and the pricing, and that's where a host can apply what we call our helpers discount, which a host can ask for up to 5 hours of help per week with a defined list of tasks around the home, none of which are care tasks. And for every hour of weekly assistance they're looking for, the monthly rent is reduced by 5% automatically. We also ask about pets in the home and other occupant details so that we have a full understanding of who's living in the house. Once you've met and matched, you can start a video call on the platform. This is a completely unstaged natural interaction between my co-founder Jackie and I. It's really important that they meet. They actually can't enter into the home share agreement process unless they've had at least a 30-minute conversation. And as I mentioned, we give them a discussion guide with key questions that they should talk through to make sure that they have a good sense of each other and whether they'll be a good fit in living together. Once they've had that meeting, if they decide to proceed, they enter into the home share agreement process, which is templated and automated. And after this stage, they move in and we check in. I'm now going to pass it to Sarah to give a little bit of Georgian's perspective. And then we'll talk a little bit about what a partnership with SpacesShared looks like, and then go to Q&A.
All right. So Georgian has a really large geographical footprint. We have 7 different campuses that are spread across Simcoe County, Grey Bruce, Dufferin County, and Muskoka. So we have a really large geographical imprint. So our students are looking for housing all through the different areas. And we know that our housing needs for our students have changed substantially over the last few years. And what worked a number of years ago doesn't necessarily work. So we are looking for new and innovative ways to house our students. So residence and off-campus housing and renting in regular markets works, but our students have also changed. So we have to be innovative in looking at different cool ways of renting for our students or finding new ways. So home sharing, as Rylan has mentioned, has been around for a number of years. So finding a company or a business that would work with Georgian and finding a new way of finding affordable housing to meet our students' needs was really important. So over the last 18 months, I've done a lot of work finding different companies and working with different companies, trying to find the best partner for Georgian. And SpacesShared was it. And why SpacesShared was it was because they were able to work with us and really understand what a Georgian student needed, and was able to build the platform and work with our students. SpacesShared actually took the time to meet with our students, meet with our international center, meet with our student council, to kind of interview our students to say, what is it that students need? What about our platform doesn't work? Rylan took a lot of time to pick my brain about what works with students, what are students looking for when it comes to housing, what works in regards to rental prices in the different communities and what doesn't. So SpacesShared is really receptive and took the time to, just really understand the Georgian community to build out a product that worked for our students. So that was really, really important for us as an institution for our students, because we are always student-centric in everything that we do at Georgian. So that's why we chose SpacesShared. That's a little bit of a background. Our students are looking for something that's affordable. We know that our students are living, life is expensive, so they have to be resourceful, and our students are resourceful. They're incredibly supportive. They have very intricate and interesting ways of supporting one another. And what we know is that if a student isn't happy where their home is, their academics aren't going to be as successful as it could be. And our students are in our Georgian communities to learn. They're not here to struggle. They're not here to work a number of different jobs in order to, make ends meet. They're here to learn so they can go off into the world to be the amazing people that they are. So finding new, innovative, and supportive and safe ways to live was incredibly important to Georgian. So finding a home sharing platform or a company that would work with Georgian was just it made sense. So we took a lot of time to really figure out what worked, and we took a lot of time to work with SpacesShared to work out the kinks, to roll out this program. We started slow. To go fast. And when we did go fast, it took off. We took off in Barrie. We started small. We started Barrie first, and we're going to roll out to the other communities, because we needed to make sure that it worked, so we could go big, because we are going to go big. We have 6 other campuses that we need to take care of. So that's where we're at. Barrie, we launched officially in June, and we have, I think our numbers are at 10 matches so far. And that's incredible. That's incredible for a small program that really wasn't really a program until maybe last October, November is when we really started talking. And that's huge when it comes to housing. So how it started is we talked about what housing was and what students needed. And what we know from an institutional lens is that our students are budget friendly. We know that our students are looking to make sure that their budget is top of mind when they're looking for housing. And they want to be making sure that they are safe. Safety is top of mind, and that they are getting what they are paying for. So that is really what we talked about with Rylan and his team when we built up the program. So, we've talked about price points. SpacesShared is very open to what that looks like in regards to when they're building out work with their hosts. We know that there's need for different types of housing. Different cultural backgrounds are, looking for different types of housing. We know that our students that are coming from different countries and from different communities are open to intergenerational living. It is something that they are accustomed to, and it makes sense to them. So moving in with a family or an older adult who requires a little bit of help is something that is normal and is just something that is second nature. So a lot of our different communities or students are open to this idea, and we're excited that this was an option for them. And the fact that there's a helper's discount involved, that their rent could be discounted even more if they help out around the house, doing a little bit of housework, doing some meal prep, was something that just made sense to them. So they're excited that is an option. When we talked to community members about what this could mean, they were very open to it. When we talked to CARP, the Canadian Association of Retired People, this was, home sharing just made sense to them as well, because it's been on their radar for a very long time. Older adults want to age in place, and getting some assistance or people to live in their home offsets the cost of having PSWs come into their home, because there's somebody who's already there, and it's somebody who has a meaningful connection with them in their home. A lot of our students are coming to us who already have an education, or are internationally trained nurses, or internationally trained in the helping profession. So them coming to our Georgian communities and coming to do nursing or ECE or any of the other helping professions, it just is a natural progression into what their education is, or what they're doing when they're in this country. So coming into a home sharing agreement where they're helping another person is just second nature to them. Our students are pretty amazing, interesting people. And so are our community members, where they were really open to the possibility and excited about having this type of program in their community. I keep being asked, when is it going to be in Owen Sound? When is it going to be in Midland? This is something that is weekly, it's asked actually, because people are excited about it, because this is, it's new in the terms of Georgian. In the Georgian community, it's new. It's not a new concept, it's just new in the Georgian community. How we rolled it out in getting some buzz going is that we did a really, it was targeted organic networking. We had the luxury that I've been ingrained in the housing community in Barrie and Simcoe County for quite a number of years, that we were able to tap on shoulders of people that I already knew. Just to say, hey, we're starting this new program. Could we have a conversation with you? We did some really simple recruiting of hosts, where we just had coffee and cookie events and just invited people who might be interested into coming and having a conversation with the SpacesShared team and myself, and just said, hey, let's have a little bit of a presentation. Let's talk about what the SpacesShared Georgian partnership looks like. Ask us questions, talk, let's have a conversation, because it's an open, honest conversation. We know that relationships are built on trust. So this was just it was an easy conversation. It wasn't a hard sell to anybody because it just makes sense across the board to so many different people. It's innovative, it's different. So those were really the harder sells. It just, some people just didn't really understand some of the subtle nuances, but other than that, it was a really easy sell. People are excited about it. They're excited about where this goes and what it could mean as the program gets bigger. I know our students are excited about it because it means that their costs are down. Hosts' costs are down because it means that somebody's doing things in their home that maybe they can't do anymore, or they don't have time to do anymore. Students are able to share a little bit of themselves. They get to build a bit of a community. Next slide, please. This is one that I get really excited about. And I know that Rylan got to see a little bit about this on Sunday. We had a bit of a community building day on campus. And this is something that I know my students talk about and our community talks a lot about, is that our students in our community crave a lot of community building. We've lost a lot of, who are we? Who is Georgian? Who are our students? And our students often say, who is Barrie? Who is Owen Sound? What is the community that's around us? Because they don't know. We're often siloed. And if we can start building a little bit more of a connection, or a lot more of a connection between our institution and what's outside of our walls and outside of our parking lots, things get a lot better because there's a flow of communication between us and them, really, and it becomes a true us. Our students talk to the community. People just feel stronger. There's a bond. Our students crave a connection. They crave roots. They want to truly be here because they came here for a purpose. They didn't just come here to get an education to leave. A lot of our students, either if they're domestic or international, they truly want to feel like they belong. Older adults, community members, they also want to feel like they belong in our institution as well. On Sunday, when we had a community building event, a lot of the feedback we received was, we didn't know that you had a lot of these different programs and you had an international center, or, you had a change-making program on campus. This is really neat. This is different. We didn't know that this happens. A lot of our students got to meet some of our community members that came onto campus, and I didn't realize that there was a South Asian community association. So there was a lot of community building. If we can build a sense of community, our communities are healthier, they're stronger. There's a sense of community and a sense of belonging where people are healthy. Everybody's just stronger together, and this is really what SpacesShared is. And it's just built on trust and relationship building, truthfully. Trying to think of where else I could go with this one. The ability to promote diversity and inclusivity is also really important, because people are inviting different people into their homes and into their communities. Perhaps there's a host that maybe is inviting somebody from a different country or a different nationality or a different person into their home, and they're learning about that person. And they get to truly immerse themselves into that person's world. And the students get to immerse themselves into perhaps the Canadian way of living. And it's a flow of communication and a flow of learning. It's truly a beautiful thing when you get to see these matches unfold. And students are building roots. Our hosts are building a stronger connection to these students, and they get to help them settle. It's quite interesting. When we look at the renewable and sustainable practices that are, involved in home sharing is also quite interesting. We have a lot of already existing housing stocks that are within our community. Our hosts want to age in place if we're talking about the older adult population. They shouldn't have to leave their homes if they're able to care for themselves safely. They shouldn't have to leave their home or sell their home just because maybe their children don't live at home anymore. If they want to live at home, they should be able to. And if they can fill some of their empty rooms and have an income because there's somebody living there, they should be able to. And if we can help them do that by having a student live with them, this is wonderful as well. We don't have to build extra, build more rooms if we can put students in a safe environment as well. There's some cost benefits as well, where we're not building extra things when there's already homes in the community. There's we're also providing skilled workers, because our students are talented people. Our communities we have workers that are here that can fill some jobs. And our students are also always creating new and wonderful jobs and businesses. They have some really wonderful ideas, and they are putting money back into our communities as well. Rylan, next slide. I think it's back to you, my friend.
Thanks so much, Sarah. So the key question probably for this audience is, what does it look like to partner with SpacesShared? So first of all, there's no cost for public post-secondary institutions to partner with us. The way we fund ourselves is through a $25 a month administration fee that comes off the rent that the student pays to the host. We have an MOU that defines roles and responsibilities. And I know there's a question in the chat about recruiting hosts. I'll cover that a little bit through here. But the expectation of the partner is that they help promote SpacesShared to their students, that they assist with community engagement. And Sarah talked a little bit about what that looked like in Barrie. Going out to the YMCA, going out to CARP, going out to the Federal Association of Retirees, going out to the local newcomers associations, getting media coverage. Media coverage helps a lot. When we launched with Georgian, we were in CTV Barrie in the evening news. We had over 30 hosts sign up within 48 hours. The target population for us is still consuming traditional media in a significant way, so that's extremely helpful. The MOU also provides protection for both the post-secondary partner and SpacesShared on use of the brand and joint media engagement, and also provides indemnities and insurance. We always say to partners that this does require some engagement with the community to make it successful. There are, as Sarah said, there's a lot of folks that are open to these types of models, but they need to be informed about it. They want to know that the post-secondary institution is playing a role in this with us. So it does require some engagement at the early end. What has been amazing to see is once this is up and running, the media wants to learn more about it. Community partners want to learn more about it because it's a good news story. We're putting students in homes with older adults, and both the older adult and the student are getting huge benefits out of it. So that takes us to the end of the presentation. If you think SpacesShared could work for your community, we'd love to hear from you. My email address is rylan@spacesshared.ca. You also can call us at 833-766-7329, and you can reach me at extension 3. Thank you again to the Center for Innovation and Campus Mental Health for having us join. We really appreciate the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Rylan, and thank you, Sarah, as well. We do have some incoming questions, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you. I think, Rylan, I know you may have touched on this, but this is a question from one of our attendees, and it is, what is your current process to recruiting hosts?
Yeah, so the process to recruit hosts includes the launch, a press release out to the community, engagement with community partners, who then will push this through social media, will invite us to speak to events where interested older adults are interested. As Sarah said, we also always host a community engagement event 2 to 4 weeks after we launch in a community, where we invite folks who want to learn more to come in, ask their questions, learn about SpacesShared, and if necessary, get help signing up. So really, it is a targeted rollout to community organizations and a community with events in the first month to make sure it's supported. We also know that targeted social media advertising works quite well for getting hosts involved, and we co-develop a marketing plan with each of our partners to go out and drive host engagement in the community.
Thank you. We have another question, and this is another attendee asking, which communities is SpacesShared currently available? Will it expand to all Ontario residents, including Ottawa?
So SpacesShared is available anywhere as a platform, but where we actively work to promote hosts and drive host engagement and student engagement is with our partner communities. So as of now, we're active in Georgian, in Barrie, though we have some hosts and students in some other communities, even though we haven't formally launched there yet. We're active in Toronto with Humber College. Yesterday, we announced our partnership with Wilfrid Laurier, so we'll be active in Kitchener-Waterloo. We have 2 other partners that I can't announce yet, but have signed MOUs with us, and they'll probably launch in the next month. We have another 5 partners who are about to sign MOUs, and those stretch from the East Coast to the West Coast of Canada. We're active with Lambton College in Sarnia. We're active with the University of Calgary. So really what it takes is it does, as I mentioned, and I'll just keep saying this, it does require some intentional engagement of the community to drive host supply. So it's available everywhere, but where we have density and good host uptake is the communities where we've intentionally partnered with our post-secondary partners to launch.
Amazing. Another question, how can post-secondary institutions go about partnering with SpacesShared? So what is the process like?
So Diana, you can shoot me an email, set up a time to meet. You've gotten pretty much the overview of what this is, so you have a sense. We like to have a conversation with the post-secondary institution, and the questions we ask is, do you have the capacity in the first month of partnership to do some community engagement with us? And if the answer is yes, then we say, let's get moving. We would sign that MOU that I mentioned that defines our role and responsibilities, the post-secondary institution's roles and responsibilities. We provide some protection to each other around brand, etc. And then once that's up and running, we agree to a joint launch plan. So it's just as easy as shooting me an email to get that conversation moving. As I mentioned earlier, there is no cost to public post-secondary institutions to partner with us.
Another question. We have so many questions coming in. This is very exciting. So another question is, how do you deal with conflict between the host and the student? So have you ever come across refusal to pay rent? What is the strategy if that happens?
So our whole modus operandi is trying to get at conflicts before they become a major issue. So as I mentioned, we check in the day that the student moves in, we check in a week thereafter and every month. And we ask questions of both the student and the host around, how's it going? How are your interactions? Host, is the student doing the things they said they would? Are you doing the things they said they would? Student, are you doing the things that you said you would? We take a very strict approach. If that survey changes, if anything is not totally satisfied, we call the host or the guest to find out why. We know that if we can address an issue early on, we can avoid it becoming a major issue that leads to match breakdown. With that said, the home share agreement, and in Ontario and in Alberta, the law is the same. Hosts and students have to share a bathroom or a bedroom, which means this is not subject to the Landlord-Tenant Act in either of those 2 provinces. So our home share agreement has a process whereby if the student has an issue with the host or the host has an issue with the student, they provide a warning or a flag. When they provide that warning, they need to contact our customer success teams that we're in the loop and can help support. The student or the host has a week to address the issue. If it's remedied or cured, all's good. They go back to their normal relationship. If it's not, there's another warning given at the end of that week period. If it still isn't cured, the student or the host has a month to end the rental agreement. We haven't seen so far a refusal to pay rent, and I don't think Jackie has seen that from her prior program either. The students who choose to participate in these types of relationships tend to be very serious about their study and very serious about their success in the community. They're extremely mature, and especially if we're talking about international students, and I think everyone here knows this, international students are often planning to stay here long term. So they're extremely respectful. They will put up with a lot, and they don't want to be seen as doing anything which could put their visa in jeopardy. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Sarah,
Can I
you
jump
have
in?
something to add? Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
From the Georgian perspective, we also, my role is the housing and outreach coordinator. So if there was ever an issue with a student's having issues with the host side or having an issue with a home sharing agreements, and there wasn't resolved to an issue, most of these would come back to me, and that would be my job to assist in resolving the situation. And then if the student had to move out, Georgian has a very meaningful way of supporting the students in order to assist finding alternative ways of alternative accommodations, because we would not want to find a student who is homeless or anything like that. We know that our students, we also make it a very clear statement to students that homestay or a breakdown of a home situation is not any reason that would impact your visa. That's not something that could happen. We do a lot of education with our students to help them understand that, because that is often something that is said, because it's used as a fear-based way of keeping somebody in line, if you will. And we want to make it clear to our students that's not something that can happen. So we do a lot of education with our students to help them understand and provide them that education. So we do, if there was ever a breakdown and home sharing is not for a student or not for a particular host, because it isn't for everybody, that we would do a lot of supporting in the back end to find alternative accommodations for that student.
And maybe I'll just quickly add to that, Sarah, because Sarah brings up a good point. So we don't require our post-secondary partners to have the level of engagement that Sarah and Georgian does. We'd love to have it. And one of the things we also ask partners is that I think we all know students will call whatever phone number they can find when they have a challenge. On our side, we'd love to have the ability to do a warm handoff to our post-secondary partners when an issue comes up, and be able to push that information and make sure the student doesn't have to complete or repeat themselves or try to find the right person. So the level of engagement once we're up and running is up to the post-secondary partner. Our preference, of course, is to be more actively involved and to be able to do warm handoffs and support the student as effectively as we possibly can.
Thank you for that. I'm just gonna ask a couple more questions and then we'll end the webinar there. The quick question, are you looking to only partner with post-secondary institutions, or can it be with other community organizations as well?
So as of today, we're partnering only with post-secondary institutions. Our expectation is to open that up. And if there's a community organization that wants to chat, reach out, we'll have the conversation. Our goal is to prove this model. Our goal is to show that students and older adults can create huge mutual benefit. And when I get very aspirational, our goal is to help rebuild community connections that we feel have frayed. So we started with students because for most folks, it feels a little more comfortable to open your home to a student than just a random person off the street. The fact that a post-secondary institution is involved, the fact that the students made a commitment to completing their studies and that it's time limited makes it a little bit more comfortable. But again, with that said, my hope is that as we're able to prove the model, as we're able to demonstrate its success, that we will be able to open it up beyond students. We don't have a firm timeline for that at this moment, though.
Amazing. And then there's another question. Some landlords ask for proof of income, credit. How do you deal with that?
So we don't allow hosts to have that requirement. on the platform, it's quite simple. When a host works on SpacesShared, they understand our process and they agree to participate. We do collect first month's rent and last month's rent. We do not forward the rent to the host until the student moves in and completes the move-in survey. This is obviously alone a thing that we think will make a dramatic impact on the amount of rental fraud that students are experiencing. We also hold that deposit until the end of the housing relationship. If the host wanted to access the deposit, they would have to make the case to us as to why they were accessing it. So the host knows they have those securities built in. The student knows that we are the ones that are making the decision to release the first payment and then to also release the damage deposit. So as you may have seen, if you joined, as that host mentioned, it really is the fact that we are collecting the money up front, that we are there, we don't disappear after they move in, that makes the difference for hosts. So sorry, slightly long-winded answer, but one thing I will add, sorry, just very quickly, one of the things we will be doing is providing students what we call a report card at the end of their stay. We'll be able to provide the student with a unique link that they can give to a future landlord that shows their payment history and reviews from landlords that's verified. So we know it's extremely hard for young people to compete in a hot rental market. It's very hard, especially for international students, to prove creditworthiness and all of these pieces. That's one of the ways that we're going to help.
Yes, Sarah.
That was also part of why moving forward with SpacesShared was so important, is because they understood this and that they took students, the way that they handled students in their warm touch was so important, because everything goes through SpacesShared, everything goes through the platform. There's no money changing hands. Everything is through a secure platform. That was incredibly important, because we know that there are sometimes people who don't have the best intentions, and our students are, here to do one thing, which is to be educated. And, they work hard for their money. They work hard to get here. And in order to have a safe place, money goes to one place. The money goes to their landlord. Their landlord is paid. They don't have to worry. In order to do that in an intentional and positive way was something that was incredibly important for us. Our students love that and love the fact that it's one and done. It's done. They don't have to worry about it. And if there's a glitch or something, it's SpacesShared's issue to deal with, not them. They don't have to track it down. SpacesShared is completely behind their product and they will handle it. And to my knowledge, there hasn't been an issue and everybody's been satisfied. So it's incredibly important, and it's a wonderful sell for both hosts and the students. And I've heard it from both sides. So the payments, the way that it's been set up is wonderful. So good job, Rylan.
Thanks, Sarah.
Last question, and this is from one of our attendees. This is a very interesting, program, and it is making a huge difference in the housing crisis. Do you have sustainable funding?
So yes, that's a great question. And maybe I'll give a slightly long-winded answer for that. Part of why we set up SpacesShared is because these programs have existed in Canada without the ability to sustain themselves. So we found literally hundreds of examples of home share programs in Canada over the last 40, 50 years that all follow the same pattern. A funder invests, they create all their materials, they do manual matches, they make 5 to 15 matches, which are extremely meaningful for the people who participate in them. But the funder thinks they haven't gone far enough. The funder fails to acknowledge the other costs avoided. Like older adults who participate in this trip and fall less. They spend less time in emergency rooms. They have better mental and social outcomes. It's also true for the students as well. But funders very rarely assess those impacts as part of thinking about the value of a program like this. So we have created a financial model that allows us to be sustained, and we also have private investment that gives us a long runway to get to the scale that we need to sustain ourselves. We are not reliant on a government funder or their whims. We're not reliant on a third-party funder. We are up and running on our own because we believe there's a huge need for this, and that by automating what we can and then providing the human support and touch where it's needed, we think we can make this a cross-Canada solution And we think we can support thousands or tens of thousands of matches.
Amazing. So this is the end of our webinar. Thank you so much, Rylan and Sarah, for being here and talking about this
Oh, thanks for
great
having us.
initiative. And thank you to our audience for coming in, posting all these great questions. And I'm really glad that we could have this space to be shared. That's not funny.
No, that's amazing. You beat me to the pun, Taran.
I just want to remind folks that we will have our survey at the end of the webinar. So once the webinar ends, there will be a survey that will pop up, and then you can share what you thought about this webinar, or what you'd like to see coming up ahead. I also want to remind you that our next webinar will be in November, on November 17th at 10 a.m. I will share the link in the chat. So this is basically we're inviting a guest to talk about what indigenizing and decolonizing mental health care can look like in the post-secondary context. So it'll be a great one. And yeah, Rylan, thank you for sharing your email in the chat. Feel free to reach out. And again, just want to remind that you will have access to the recording on the website end of the day, as well as you will have access to the slides as well. Thank you, folks, and I hope you have a great day ahead. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.